You're listening to Shoe-In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Polk.
Hello, Shoe-In Show listeners. We are so glad that you join us for this special episode. We're in the middle of February of 2022, February being Black History Month. We're very proud of the many conversations we've had over the years during February as it relates to Black History Month. I want to welcome Sabria Butler, my partner in crime for this episode. Sabria, welcome to Shoe-In Show. You're a valued member of the FDRA team, but you've never co-hosted with me, so we're going to do this together and have a lot of fun. But welcome, Sabria. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, Sabria, one of the things that we really value are our partnerships with other organizations, and Pensole is one of those partnerships, and Dr. DWayne Edwards is one of those kind of iconic people in our industry who says what he's going to do and does what he says he's going to do. And so I wanted to have DWayne on to talk about this Christmas present he got. I saw him post on LinkedIn. DWayne, welcome to Shoe-In. I saw you post on LinkedIn where you got this Christmas present from the state of Michigan at the end of 2021. And my friend, it was an amazing Christmas present. I don't want to steal your thunder, but welcome back to Shoe-In Show. Let's dive into what happened at the end of December of 2021.
Nice. Thank you, Matt, man. It's great to be back. And Sabria, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So good morning to both of you. Yes, so I got an amazing after Christmas present from the governor of Michigan. She signed two bills that we had submitted to the state of Michigan. One reinstating Pensole Lewis College of Business as the official HBCU in the state of Michigan. And the second one was enacting another bill for any other college that has closed and wishes to reopen. They could follow the process that we created. So those were the two bills that we received as a late Christmas gift that is really going to, propel us moving forward so we can start to do some great things in the state of Michigan.
So let's back that up real quick, DWayne. People have known you for a long time as the founder of Pensole, and prior to that, design jobs at Jordan and LA Gear and elsewhere. We've talked about your shoe story on this program before, and I encourage people to go back and download that. But you had this vision for propping up an HBCU, focus on design. And so just last year, you announced that you were starting the Pensole Lewis College of Business and Design in Detroit. How on earth did you start that journey? Walk us kind of back from that, where you go from what you're doing in Portland and Pensole, and you move over to Detroit and you establish this new HBCU, or reestablish.
Yes. So honestly, it came out of a conversation I was having with a former Pensole student of ours, Alan Largent, who lives in Detroit. And we were having just a random conversation, and he throws out, "Hey, I think Detroit used to have an HBCU." And I'm just like, pause, like, how do you just throw that into the conversation? And so after the call, I jump online and start Googling as if, I'm working on a design project. I'm going in. I want to know everything about this thing I did not know anything about. And so about an hour and a half later, I found one of the last known location for the college. And there was the realtor's name and phone number still left on the side of the building. So I called him. So I called Anthony Pellegrino, called him and said, "Hey, man, is the building still for sale? What's going on? Can you tell me?" He goes, "Well, I actually represent the family and the estate of the family." And I said, "Well, I would love to talk to them, because during my research, there were some articles that stated that the family has been trying to reopen the college ever since it closed in 2013, but they were unsuccessful." And so Anthony put me in contact with the grandchildren of the founder, Violet T. Lewis, and we had a great conversation. I explained to them, my vision of it would be great if we can merge and create the first design-focused historically Black college. And they loved the vision, and we ultimately agreed to merge. And it was kind of that simple, the initial part. And then I immediately was like, okay, damn it, they said yes. Okay, now what? All right, now I gotta actually do this thing. And so I contacted Dr. Don Tusky at College for Creative Studies in Detroit. So they're one of the top design schools in the nation. And ironically, CCS owns the original building that the college was in when it moved from Indianapolis into Detroit in 1939. And so there was already some history there. Don and I had history because he was the president at a college in Portland. And so I asked him, I said, hey, do you want to go on this ride with me? And I think we could do some magical things in the city of Detroit. And he signed up immediately. And now we've been going through the process of reopening the college. There's a lot of layers associated with it. And so we have 2 more layers left, but the biggest layer was what the governor, gifted us at the end, shortly after Christmas.
Okay. So, DWayne, I have a question. Why was it important for this school to be an HBCU? I personally am an HBCU grad. I'm a big promoter of HBCUs. And, there's been a lot of talk recently about how HBCUs may not be relevant or how they're not necessary anymore.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on that? And why was it important for this school to be an HBCU?
Well, so, last year we had some terrible events with George Floyd getting murdered on TV, right? And then from that, there was an outpouring from businesses, a lot in the footwear industry that made these, large commitments to support the Black community. And a portion of a lot of those funds were directed towards design and engineering and creativity. And traditionally, at the normal design schools, the PWIs in the US, there's 96 of them. And of the 96 predominantly white institutions, they all have an average African-American enrollment of less than 9%. And they have a less than 3% graduation rate. And so companies who are looking to improve diversity, they immediately go to where they normally shop for talent, which is in those 96 colleges and universities. So when they discover that there's not enough talent to pull from, then they logically say, hey, let's go to HBCUs because that's where the majority of Black people who are in college attend. So when they shifted to the HBCU side, they then discovered that only 10% of HBCUs actually have a design program. And there's another 20 to 30 schools that have an art or design class, just like a singular class or course. And so what ended up happening, HBCUs did not become an option either. And so then the companies defaulted to us because we were a small academy since 2010, predominantly serving, all talent of all races. But we did specifically focus on Black and brown talent. And so they would ask us to work with HBCUs to grab kids from there, to bring them to our academy and develop them and send them back. Right. And so when I discovered the Lewis College of Business, it just made sense to connect the dots of adding design to a business college. Also, the city of Detroit, it actually holds the only honor of any city in America being UNESCO's a UNESCO city of design, which is one of the highest honors you can have. And it's the only city in America that has that. On top of, I don't know if you've ever been to Detroit, if you drive around the city, you will see some really bad looking buildings with some of the most beautiful artwork on the side of these buildings. So the city itself is just a hub for creativity. It just needed an additional outlet, an additional boost to help kind of elevate it even further. So having it there on top of Detroit has one of the largest Black populations of any city in America. It was just too many dots that were perfectly aligned to be connected.
Something's dawned on me, DWayne, as you talk about this, and I've done a little reading on your website about Dr. her legacy, and the need that she met on developing Black talent for corporate space, particularly with the auto companies. And fast forward, I think the reason, I was going to ask you this, what does the family think about it? If you thought Dr. Lewis was able to come back and meet with you to see what you're doing, how pleased she would be with your efforts. But you've had that opportunity because you're talking with the family. But you're really continuing her legacy of creating an opportunity to drive more Black and brown talent, maybe into the audio industry because you'll be in Detroit, but into other industries, the footwear industry, apparel, other types of industries. This seems like, I use this term often, it's like a God thing. It feels like these connection points are happening where you're continuing this legacy, meeting a need, while at the time not really knowing what the legacy was before you showed up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it seems like all these things are coming together in a very fortuitous fashion.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, no, it's not me. There's a higher power controlling my destiny. I know that every
Right.
single day.
Right.
For me, yeah, you're right. We're just continuing her legacy. She was a pioneer, and I was ashamed. I'd never heard of her before. She's one of 3 Black women to found an HBCU. There's only been 3 of them founded by a woman, and she's one of those 3. But the thing she was doing in the late 20s and early 30s was, unheard of. And she was just so adamant about succeeding, and her entrepreneurial spirit, and just the way she was able to just get things done for that time period, for Black women during that time period, is just off the charts. And so, yes, we are just continuing on what she had already started on the business side, and we're just now carrying it forward additionally on the business side, but also expanding it to the design side. And we have a lot of similar paths. We have a lot of similar traits. We've done a lot of similar things. At one point the college was it was actually founded on $50.
Wow.
What?
And it was a loan on top of that, right? And then she bartered for typewriters. And then she talked to the local radio stations. Can I get some airtime to talk about the college so I can help promote? This was in the late 20s. And so her vision of meeting people where they are, which is at that time listening to the radio because there was no TVs, right? And it's similar to what we do now. Is now we have the whole World Wide Web, but we meet kids where they are. And a lot of her programs were free at the time. She was doing certification education, which is what we do as well. So a lot of the things that she was doing, she was definitely a pioneer, and we want to rewrite her story, and so people can actually learn more about who she was and her contribution to not only just the HBCUs, but specifically the economy of Detroit.
Yeah, I was actually looking on your website, and I learned a lot about her. I've never heard about her before, but I also saw that she was associated with Madam C.J. Walker, which I thought,
Yep.
was major. But I do have another question, DWayne. So for those who are interested in maybe attending the school, what is the process and what does that look like for interested parties?
Yeah, so right now we're in the process of launching our first program. That first program will launch pretty soon. Right now, you just go to the website and log on and sign up to our mailing list. Actually, take that back. By the time this airs, we would have already launched our first program. So all you got to do is just go to Pensole.com. We're in the process of making the transition from Pensole to Pensole Lewis College. But yeah, everything is going to be up there. You'll be able to see our list of brands that we're going to work with this year, which has grown significantly. None of this would have happened, honestly, up to this point without Target and the Gilbert Family Foundation. They were instrumental in helping us kind of plant that seed of, okay, this is really possible, and we have some financial support to pull this off based off of conversations. I mean, there was no business plan. There was no big PowerPoint presentation. We were just having a conversation. They were like, yes, this should happen, right? And so they were great and immediately signing on. And the same organic conversation happened with Miller Knoll, formerly Herman Miller, where they were like, man, this would be amazing because there's a lack of diversity, massive lack of diversity on the furniture design side. And being a Michigan company in Grand Rapids, they were like, hey, can we design the school? Like, can we design the studios and provide all the furniture and everything? And I'm like, yes, you can. Yeah, that works. Yeah, that works. But what's great is we're bringing on brands outside of our industry. We're bringing on brands that we had never worked with before. So we have a program set with Versace and Jimmy Choo and Michael Kors, our
Mm.
usual suspects of, the Nikes of the world, the Adidas's, the New Balances, the Timberland, Vans, North Faces. But then we're bringing in like a Procter and Gamble, and then we're bringing in like a J. Crew, and then we're bringing in like a PepsiCo. And so what the reason why that's important, it's because the lack of diversity is actually in all design industries, not just
Mm.
in the footwear industry. And those organizations have recognized that we've done a pretty good job of trying to change that for the last 12 years.
Well, as you list all those names, those corporate names, and they're so necessary for the broad success of the school, and it's a testament to you, DWayne. They see you. It doesn't take a contract or PowerPoint presentation because you are people recognize you're a great steward of the resources that have been given to you through Pensole, through the talent that has been directed your way, and how you've shepherded so many people, so many young designers through the process of being successful. But it also, the juxtaposition between the environment we're in now and the positive outcome that came out of the terrible tragedy of George Floyd's death, and then you look at Dr. Lewis and having to like barter for typewriters in an environment that was probably not very welcoming to a woman of color, an educated woman of color, how many doors she had to knock down. It just shows you, it helps put in my mind the context of just how hard she worked to build the foundation that now so many people are going to benefit off of your hard work that's built on top of that. It's just we've come a long way, I guess is the point. But at the same time, kudos to her and what she had to go through, because it's not the environment we're in now. It's not a conversation with a major corporation run by white people say, yeah, sign us up for a black run HBCU in Detroit. It's just not, that wasn't the environment back then.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, you said it all there. I mean, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
But she just could not be denied. And to me, like, that's always been my mentality, is I've always been one of actions. I'll let my actions speak for me instead of me trying to talk and explain it. And I think that has been, to your point, like one of the reasons why people, agree to work with us is because we produce results. And for me, coming from the corporate world and transitioning into the education side, the corporate world is all about results. And what's interesting is the education world is not. and so for me, it's like I'm an educator thinking like a corporation from the perspective of, I know everything that we do from an education point of view has to have a real ROI associated with it. And we've done that for the last 12 years. And so I hope that what we're doing influences other colleges to do the same thing. There are other big design schools in the same state as HBCUs, and they don't work with each other. And so I hope this encourages that. We will create a sister school relationship with the other 90 HBCUs that don't have design programs, because I think it's important for kids to have interdisciplinary learning, similar to the way they learn in Europe. If you're in Europe, you can hop around from country to country through a really easy exchange program. I want to create that here in the U.S. with HBCUs. So we just want to change kind of the landscape of education. The bar is really low, so it's not that hard, but we do want to do things differently, and just push education to think a bit more like a corporation.
So I'd like to hear more about your vision for student life at the Pensole Lewis College. And we already know that HBCUs are, hubs for Black culture, Black excellence, and then it's a design school. So, creativity is going to abound. So what's your vision? I mean, what are you imagining in the next 5-10 years that Pensole Lewis College is going to look like?
Yeah. So, we can't, and we're not going to try to recreate the experience that you would get like at a Southern or Howard or Morehouse, something like that. That's not the lane that we're in. One of our goals with the sister school program is to allow our students to then go there and actually experience that cultural, revolution that happens down there. I think the difference between what a student would have here versus other HBCUs, a lot of Black creativity history is still alive. R.I.P. Virgil. But a lot of our history is still alive. And I'm fortunate enough to know almost all of them. And so they're all going to be teachers. They're all going to be guest lecturers. So a student that comes to Pensole Lewis, they'll be being taught by 30-year veterans, 40-year veterans, 20-year veterans, right? From the footwear, apparel, accessories, graphics, all these different spectrums that you just can't find anywhere. Like you just can't find it anywhere. So I think that's the first part. They will also learn about our history in design and in creativity, because you can't go to a website now and get a comprehensive understanding of our contribution to America as designers and as creatives. And so we're going to do that. We're going to create exhibits where it's going to be integrated into our teaching and how kids learn. The programs that we offer will focus on those areas of creativity that is most underrepresented, and then having a pioneer in that industry be the one who's teaching you. So we'll have that. That's different than other places. We partnered with a hotel in Detroit called the Hotel St. Regis, and we are taking over an entire fourth floor. That's going to be our student housing, where each brand, what we're going to start to do is talk to each brand and take over a room. And so a kid could stay in an Adidas room, a kid could stay in a New Balance room or a Jimmy Choo room. So we're really trying to elevate even the student housing experience. And then with partners like Logitech, we'll create this really cool experience center for kids to actually just go unwind, play video games, but then learn how to design video games in the same room. So I don't want to just create a video game room. I want you to learn how to build those video games. And so we're creating these immersive experiences and paying attention to that total 360 of what will happen when they come to Detroit, because it's cold there. I want people who coming from other cities and other countries that's a little bit warmer to have a warm place to be. But no, seriously, we do want to look at the whole experience and making sure that they have the best products to work on and play on and experience. And because that's super critical and important. As a father who have sent a few daughters to college, I want the parents to know their kids are in good hands. They're living in a nice place. They're being taken care of. The proximity of where they live and go to college is 3-minute walk. So yeah, we're looking at the whole experience.
That's awesome. I want to. Where do I sign up? DWayne, as we close out this conversation, you're one of the visionaries and co-founders of the African American Footwear Forum, and as we here in Black History Month, we've made some changes that have now since been announced, but we want to tease out a couple things. Clearly, we based on the feedback we've gotten from the community, pivoting to Black Footwear Forum is something that is the right thing to do, and we've since done that. But we also want to get back together in person again, because the energy and the magic that was in the room in February of 19 in DC and in August of 19 in Portland, and then virtually over the past few years is, if you could bottle that up and sell it, we'd all be millionaires.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about kind of where you envision this is heading, and then what we can tease out for gathering in a city that now has a huge prominence for our industry, Detroit. And I will say, before I let you answer, and when I opened this up, I talked about how DWayne does what he says. And I can tell you privately in our conversations, we were thinking through how FDRA can support, at the time, the African American Footwear Forum. And DWayne's heart was consistently in developing talent in an educational system that's worthy of Black and brown workers who have a desire to get into these industries that we've talked about. And so he's been talking about this privately for some time. And so I just wanted our listeners to be aware that this is something that's been on your heart for a long time. But I feel like we can merge the two, at least in a moment, in Detroit here soon. But wanted to kind of give you the opportunity to talk more about how you think the year will unravel or unfold as it relates to the Black Footwear Forum.
Yeah, I think with our next gathering being in Detroit, I'm excited about that, because Detroit has a lot of history. It has so much Black history. And as I mentioned, the creativity that's there. So having the experiences of being the tour of some of these iconic landmarks of Hitsville, USA, the Fox Theater, like all these cultural things that people most of the time have only seen on television. But also with the college, we are creating this showcase of Black creativity. We are creating this showcase, and to be able to have them actually all in one place live for a day or two is going to be, even more powerful than I feel what we had in the last two sessions in person. But the college I see it as a continuation of it, where now people who may have never thought about teaching or maybe never thought about themselves as mentors or someone that has something to give. I don't feel like mentorship has an age on it. I think as soon as you start doing what you do and you're 2 weeks in, you're a vet. Like you can talk about it, right? You can start to pass on that 2 weeks of knowledge you've had to someone else. And so I really feel like, the Black Footwear Forum, in partnership, what we're doing with the college in Detroit, when that moment happens, it's going to be elevated. But as we move forward, I do want to create more, groups. I want to have these, satellite, locations where people can gather instead of having to wait a full year to gather.
Right.
Have these, micro gatherings in certain key cities. But I think it's going to even be a bigger resource for our industry than what it has been before. And obviously, since that first gathering, I mean, we've had, just because of the fellowship and people connecting, a lot of people have changed jobs. Some people have created foundations. Some people have went into teaching, and that was just out of just being in the same place with other people, right?
Yeah.
And that we just didn't have the experience to do. So I'm excited about, how we're going to move it forward and evolve it. And I thank you definitely, Matt, for continue to support it and being on top of it and making sure that it continues.
I appreciate that, DWayne. It's a pleasure and an honor and privilege for me. My heart is that night, or those few days in DC in February of 19 they were magic. It's one of the greatest footwear events I've ever been a part of. So thank you for helping me to play a small role in it. And DWayne, thank you for coming on Shoe-In Show. We were super excited and bullish and super optimistic about what you're doing. I'm proud to know you as a friend, and my encouragement to all listeners on the brands, particularly on the brand side, if you haven't checked out the website in a while, if you haven't been to Pensole.com and seen the badass photo of DWayne standing outside the historical marker about Dr. Lewis's impact on the city of Detroit and the college, and check it out. Get in touch with DWayne. Because this thing is, you're going to want to be a part of this program. And so, DWayne, thank you so much for coming on and educating us on both Dr. Lewis's legacy as well as your plans with the establishment of the college.
Great. Thank you for having me. Appreciate the time and looking forward to seeing you in person again one day. But yes, thank you very much. I appreciate all that you do for our industry as well, man. You're under the radar, but massive contribution that's critical to our success.
Thank you, DWayne. That means a ton to me. Yeah. Folks, this has been another exciting edition of Shoe-In Show. We are so glad that you've checked us out and you've joined, particularly during Black History Month. This is we've set aside kind of talking about trends, and we've set aside talking about some of the other things with tariffs and trade, some of the more boring stuff, and we're focusing on the Black contributions to our industry. Not just in this month, but all year long, as DWayne talked about. And so we want you to be checking out our episodes. We have a whole library of episodes. If you look back over the last 300 plus episodes, check those out. Hit us up at shoeinshow.com. Sabria, thank you for being my partner in crime today. It was a pleasure to have you on, and I look forward to many more episodes with you as well. And to all of our listeners, thank you for joining. And until next time, Shoe-In Show is out.
Shoe-In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.